Anopheles causes malaria, and Culex causes West Nile virus, WNV, and Japanese encephalitis, JE. Aedes causes dengue fever, chikungunya fever, and Zika fever. Unlike Anopheles and Culex, Aedes mosquitoes are aggressive day biters, which means instead of biting at night, they bite in the daytime and are very combative in their behavior. Therefore, this species is the most advantageous in carrying infectious diseases. Their body is a bit larger and they spawn in clean water, so they don't usually inhabit in the city, but prefer places like rice paddies and irrigation water. This is why we tend to see malaria arising from rural areas rather than cities. These mosquitoes in particular has a zoophilic trait, as they prefer animal blood over human blood. Culex tritanurhynchus mosquitoes are representative of carrying JE in South Korea, and unlike Anopheles, Culex can be easily caught in residential regions. However, these mosquitoes still need clean water, so JE usually arises in rural areas rather than the cities. One of the reasons is because they need clean water. Within the Culex species, there are mosquitoes called Culex pipiens. These mosquitoes have a habit of spawning in dirty water like septic tanks and sewage, so they can survive not only in rural areas but also in cities. As I mentioned, they are active in the daytime, and it's important to note that they have very distinct characteristics. When we think about mosquitoes, we usually put up a mosquito net or a light mosquito incense before we sleep, or begin spraying repellents at sunset. However, these prevention methods are not effective for Aedes mosquitoes as they are active in the daytime. A big difference between these mosquitoes and others are that they aren't effectively controllable if you begin setting up prevention methods late in the day. And that is why Aedes mosquitoes are well adapted to cities and spawn even in small pools of water. If there's a small groove in an old tree and water fills up from the rain, or even in a tire mark in the mud, these mosquitoes can easily spawn and increase their population. This species of mosquitoes requires a lot of effort to be effectively controlled. However, the most effective vector control method is to effectively kill the mosquitoes that have absorbed the blood of malaria patients. This is the most effective way to reduce the disease. When you look at the right column highlighted in yellow and the survival rate under 3, it indicates that if you reduce the survival rate of malaria-infected mosquitoes from 0.9 to 0.7, the reproduction number, so the VC. So when considering mosquitoes, if you divide the integrated vector control like this, you will have the following image. Firstly, anti-larval measures are a big part, and another is anti-adult measures. And next, a method to protect humans against infections, mosquito bites, and then legislative control. As I mentioned, the most important and basic method for anti-larval measures is environmental control. Chemical control is the use of a certain type of insecticide to kill mosquitoes, and the most representative insecticide is organophosphate-based insecticide. But the problem is that organophosphate-based insecticide has already been used a lot, and because of that, insecticide resistance has been reported in many parts of the world. When it comes to adult mosquitoes, the most common method is spraying. You can use these insecticide sprays like the thermal fog. And then there's residual spray for indoors. As I mentioned earlier, the weight of the blood-absorbed mosquitoes increases 10 times its regular weight, and their bodies become bloated. They can't fly far away because their bodies are heavy, so they have the tendency to stick on the wall and leave nutrients behind, and excrete water to lighten their bodies and fly away. So they usually are in people's residential spaces, and once they take blood, they stick on the wall. When you use the residual spray, it will come in close contact with the mosquitoes and kill them. And so, depending on the characteristics of the house, IRS will be a very effective vector control method. However, when choosing residual spray, please keep in mind that you need to cover at least 80% of the region for it to be an effective prevention method, so it requires a lot of resources and effort.